on third reading of things.
Yeah, I really want to see people out there. That way I can see it.
Hello, everyone. As you can see, President Peters had a previous commitment, so I'll be running the meeting tonight. It is 6:32. We got a slightly late start. We had a tardy member we wanted to wait on. He's here. We're good to go. If everybody would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, roll call, please. Here.
Here.
Present.
Here.
Present.
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 Shannon, your microphone on. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the April 4th, 2024 meeting? Everybody's nodding their head. Or is there any changes to make, any corrections or additions to the minutes? She did not receive any. Hearing no corrections or additions, I'll accept a motion to accept the minutes.
I make a motion.
Second.
Councilman Norman, Councilman Hitt. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of accepting the minutes as written, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Thank you. We do not have any public hearings this evening. Communications and announcement, we don't have any listed on the agenda. I will like to say this earlier in the meeting than at roundtable, that we had a complaint from a few people about the volume of our broadcast when they try to listen to it either right then or afterwards. That complaint was forwarded on to the administration, and Mr. Castle, I believe he can give us a quick update on maybe what they've tried to do.
We can't hear that.
Person come in that works on our equipment. He has turned up the broadcasting volume, so it won't be, shouldn't make any difference inside here. Hopefully people can hear better listening at home or watching the video.
Thank you. So anyone that's listening home, I do hope that you can hear this better tonight because they've turned up that volume. We'll move on to audience concerns. We have a large slate of audience members that want to speak tonight, and we actually only have one. If you haven't signed up, I only have Mr. Morse. Did anybody else sign up to speak? Did you? Did you sign up the paper in the back? Okay, we'll need to grab those.
I passed it down to you.
I have one.
One page.
Oh, I'm sorry, one sheet. There's three names, I'm sorry. I expected three sheets.
Poor Greg.
He's new at this.
Mr. Vincent Morris, you are up first. Would you please come up, state your name and address for the record, please? Let's-
All righty, Vincent Morris, 134 North Main. I'd like to talk a little bit about Callaway Park in general. Just a little bit about 120-24. The last time I was here, I think the first question I asked was how many people are going to show up and say that they play pickleball, and I'd like to ask that a question again and modify it just a little bit. How many people from London are going to show up here to say they play pickleball. I don't know that any of them last week were any taxpayers in the city, but that was nice of them to show up and say that pickleball is important and they'd show up if we build it. I'd like to correct one of my arguments about pickleball at the park. I advocated against pickleball at the park, and my argument was not valid. I said that there's not enough room at the park to expand, and that's not true. There's plenty room there to expand. That's not a valid argument. Another argument that I heard was that there might be a lot of trash left at the park, and that's really not a valid argument either, because any group that meets there could leave trash. Another argument that I heard that may not be valid is it could bring too many people to the park, and I don't think that's a valid argument either, because we want a lot of people at the park. One of the questions when I finished up last time, I kept asking, what is the theme of the park? And when we do installations and build things there and have activities, what is it based on? And I kind of knew the answer, but I had to do a little research to find out exactly what it was. So I went to the courthouse and I searched Richard Cowling, and I searched his last testament and will, and he willed the park 4.5 acres in 1883. And I was curious what the exact wording on that will was and the conditions of its use. And I had it printed out. I also had a map of that 4.5 acres, and I think that 4.5 acres runs from the little white house next to your house straight out to Park Avenue. There's a little hump where there was a drive, and that's where the 4.5 acres ends. And then I think the additional acreage was added on several years back, that it was bought from Jim Cannon, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it was bought from us.
Oh, all the way down to Walnut?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is not part of the original 4.5 acres. So as I'm reading this will, and I've got 39 pages. They told me it's one of the longest wills they've seen down there. And there's also a codicil attached to it, which is the amendments to the will itself. So I was curious if we're using that park according to Richard Cowling's desires in his will. And I see that, yes, 99%, well, I posed it, however I opposed pickleball there. I didn't think it aligned with his wishes. I think that now the Noah's Bridge, which was put there by the Lions Club several years back, it's not on the original Cowling Park, the 4.5 acres, but it would align with his wishes in his will. The horseshoe pit would align with it, because in the olden days when people would go to the park, the men had a gentleman's game of horseshoes, and they gathered there and they played horseshoes. There's the Paul Meadows train, and it aligns perfectly with Richard Cowling's wishes in his will. You have the gazebo, perfect. You have the shelter house. You used to have, yes, sir.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, you have where they used to play basketball. The only thing I see at the park that does not align with Mr. Cowling's wishes in his will is the Hope Box. And because it's not only an installation and a development and an activity, it's a social program. And a social program is not in his will. He gave many, many dollars to different social programs. He started the children's home. He developed the Oak Hill Cemetery with the soldiers. I've read his biography, and it's interesting in the Madison County history. But the park looks beautiful. From talking to people, I see they wish John with his tree commission would go crazy in the park with trees and bushes and shrubs and flowers and all that kind of stuff. But that's it for tonight.
It's good, because your time's up.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Now, I will say this, I have, since we've had these different discussions about County Park, I've had a few discussions with some old employees or former employees, maybe that they remember some things that I don't. And when the basketball courts were taken out
Yeah,
and moved, it was because they wanted to keep a family atmosphere, and it was becoming less so with, with kids that were challenging each other and got kind of loud. So, there was a reason to move the basketball courts out of that, for that park at that time,
Sure.
from what I've been told. And I
Right.
believe Mr. Hume was involved in that process then, but I have not spoken to him.
and like I said, I agree with everything there except for the Hope Box. I don't think that's a good location. I think the police department or the help house or the food pantry would be a good place for it. That's it.
Anybody else
and
have
if-
anything for Mr.
if-
Morris?
If you ever have the chance to read Mr. Cowling's will, he was a fantastic man for this community. You can't drive down a road in London without seeing his footprint someplace. That's, yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Next, we have Jamie Wilson. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Okay, my name's Jamie Wilson. I live at 850 Circle Drive. I'm a London Village Condominium Association. I was here for pickleball. Anyhow, we play pickleball out at our church. I know a lot of the people came from Lake Choctaw to talk about the pickleball courts. There are a bunch of us that play within our church pickleball, and we enjoy it, okay? I never thought I could enjoy the little short plays of doing pickleball, but if you've never tried it, you should. It's not too taxing on you. It's fun. You get a little laughter. A lot of times you don't see people ages 60 and up with some laughter. There's a lot of laughter in it. There's a lot of fun. Watching yourselves mess up. I know that may sound funny, but it's cute. What I don't want is us to forget about pickleball. We have it in our church, but on the days like this or whatever, it would be nice to have a court outside. You can go to most communities almost anywhere outside of London, and they all have pickleball courts, including Lake Choctaw, okay? I understand they have them, but I don't think as a London, I live in London, why should I have to go to Lake Choctaw to play pickleball when we have space around here? Whatever space it is. Sometimes I know it's difficult. There are a lot of people that do play pickleball. I could probably get a lot of people to come up here and talk to you guys about playing pickleball. I don't know if you want all that. I'm just asking that you don't drop the ball on this and that you find a space for us to have pickleball courts. Okay? Thank you.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
over here.
Yes.
How many people would you say here in London? Because we, like Mr. Morse said, we had a lot of Lake Choctaw people.
Right.
So if you just had to throw out a number, how many would you
I'd say at least 25, 30 that I know of.
That's-
But, that would play and actually are wanting to learn to play because we've been talking about it so much. That's the problem.
So when you
Until you got to see how many people were playing and, some people start getting embarrassed and then you find out everybody's kind of laughing and having fun doing it. We're starting to get more people to come and want to play. We tell them to come to our church. But I don't think we should always have to go inside to play pickleball.
I agree.
Okay.
So at your current location, when you play, so you're saying 20, 25 people show up?
Different, yes.
Yeah?
And
Okay.
different times, yes.
That's great. Okay.
And they will come and play. We just recently had some that said, I want to play. And some of the people at my London Village Condominium Association, I always tell them, come out there, come and play. And they said, I'm really interested in coming out. People just haven't because they really haven't seen it and they're kind of afraid. But on the same token, once you do it, you realize it's a lot of fun. And that's why I ask. I don't know if any of you guys have ever played pickleball, but once you do, you might enjoy it. And that's all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else have anything for Jamie Wilson? No? Thank you. Next, we have Chris, and I'll let you give me the correct pronunciation on your last name. I don't want to butcher it.
All right. My name is Chris Saboris. I'm a resident of 1080 Claudia Drive, Apartment F. I'm here to kind of echo everything that Wilson said. I am a pickleball proponent. I actually played collegiate tennis in college for 4 years, so I'm familiar with the sport. I've played it a bunch. My friends have played it a bunch. And unlike tennis, pickleball has a much lower cost to entry. You don't have to have any sort of hand-eye coordination just to walk out on the court and have a good time. I was able to go and play with my father and mother-in-law, and they didn't play tennis, but we were able to sort of pick up the paddle really quick and have a great time. It's a great family activity just because of that. You don't have to be practiced or anything. It's, ping pong standing up. So just to kind of repeat everything she said, I really think that it would be a good thing for the community just to get out and do, and I think that wherever it ends up being, it would be wonderful to see you show up at some point. So, thank you.
Sir, would you spell your last name for me?
I'd love to. T-S-I-B, as in boy, O-U-R-I-S.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So you played college tennis.
I did.
Did you play at Cedarville?
I did. How'd you know?
Well, you have a Cedarville email address, so I thought maybe, are you still involved at Cedarville?
My brother's about to graduate. I stop by every once in a while.
Oh, okay.
at the gym,
Well,
but-
the reason why I ask is if you were still down there, do they have people your age or younger that are playing pickleball on a college campus? Because this is one of the debates that we're not going to have a younger group of people that want to play.
So it's funny you say that. They actually just moved their old volleyball courts to make room for probably a dozen new pickleball courts. They have lights and everything, and they are jam-packed. I mean, you can hear kids playing them all the time. My cousins actually are very competitive and play it a whole bunch. Having not played tennis, again, they just got really into it and enjoy it. It is kind of everywhere at this point. So to answer your question, yes, they did just put a whole bunch of new courts in.
And do you think there's people, I don't know how old you are, but do you think there's a younger section of people that would want to play in not a college town?
I've noticed, yes, just with neighbors, we've gone out to hit around at the church a couple times.
Okay.
People my age, that we do it very frequently.
Okay. Anybody else have anything more?
The pickleball court you talked about, is that back behind, are they back behind the cemetery
At the Cedarville?
in Cedarville?
Yes, kind of by the tennis courts.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we're done with the timer. We're glad that's done. So thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Next, we're going to move on. Committee reports. We will start with Mr. McDaniels.
You want public service or fire? Or public service or public safety?
Which one do you want to start with? Are you doing both?
Yes.
Okay, start with whichever one.
The Parks and Rec, we got the swim pool. Still looking to hire a few more lifeguards. Applications can be picked up at the Parks and Rec office, 20 South Walnut Street, Suite 107, or filled out online at londonohio.gov/job opportunities. And it looks like they're going to start working on getting the pool ready in the next few weeks. Opening day will be Saturday, May 25th. Madison County Marlins will be using the London pool for their practices and home meets. Additional info can be found on their Facebook page at Madison County Marlins Swim Team. And the programs, they got spring volleyball. Regular season games wrap up on Saturday, April 20th. The tournaments start Monday, April 21st, with championship games being held on Wednesday, April 23rd. And adult softball registration for spring sessions deadline is this upcoming Friday, April 12th, which is already passed. Still need a few teams for both leagues to have enough. Co-ed league on Monday nights, men's league on Thursday nights. On to the parks. Both parks were heavily visited for the eclipse. Both parks had Hope Box pantries installed. These were designed and built by inmates at London Correctional. The structures serve as small food pantries stocked on non-perishable items for anyone in a community who needs them. And I think that's about it.
For the service committee,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
You want the fire from public safety now?
Sure.
Come back to it.
You can do the public safety.
Yeah, we got the report from the fire chief and a departmental EMS training, ACLS, and airway management through Ohio Health. Department EMS training, managing mass casualty incident through Madison Health. Departmental fire training, drivers and extrication training. They hosted several students for ride time for tolls and grant paramedics class. Finished process of replacing EMS billing company. Completed installation of exhaust removal system. Participated in emergency operations training and staffing for the eclipse. And attended kids' Easter egg hunt at Nazarene Church. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hayes?
Safety Service Committee, we had our meeting on the 9th of April. All committee members were present. I called the meeting to order at 6:08 PM. Minutes of the March 12th meeting were approved as written. We accepted Chief of Police report. Mr. Stahl's going to give that report to council. Also accepted Chief Eads' report, which you just heard from Mr. McDaniel. Under new business, Chairman Hayes talked about the need for more speed limit signs in the city's business district. Also brought up the speeding on Main Street, going out of town and coming into town. Discussion held on better lane markings for Main Street, actually getting it marked for 2 lanes of traffic so that it is more apparent and visible to drivers that it is 2 lanes and not more. Downtown parking was also discussed. Downtown parking is a very complex situation, and it's going to take more in a safety service meeting to get that resolved. Under old business, there was none, and we adjourned at 6:40 PM. Next Safety Service Committee meeting will take place on May 14th at 6 PM in the conference room. As a side note, there has been some movement on Main Street. There has been some drawings made, and there's been, Rex who probably speak on this a little more than I can, but they are working actively on it, maybe putting some parallel parking areas out through there and some lines so we can get that narrowed down to 2 lanes going out through there, and people will know it's 2 lanes and not 3.
Is that all you have tonight?
That's all I got.
That's all you have tonight?
That's all I got.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Hitt?
Yeah, I attended the Public Service Committee meeting, and it was April 9th, and our next meeting is May 14th at 5 o'clock in the conference room next door. During the meeting, we discussed pickleball, various topics like location, expansion, cost estimates, lighting, restrooms, parking, security, and kind of the pros and cons of the various locations that have been brought up. And then we talked about ward boundaries being changed and how that could possibly affect certain wards with grant options that might be available to them, such as income-based type of grants. So there's a question of whether we want to change the ward boundaries or not. The festivals, we talked about the parade route, and then concerns were brought up about that as far as police security that was needed or required for the additional turns in the route. And so that's supposed to go back to further planning as far as the parade route goes. We talked about downtown, or we talked about electronic sign, which will come forth in legislation tonight. That's it for public service. And I also attended Finance Committee meeting on the 15th. And the March books, the overall month-to-date revenue was $2,463,260.35. The expenses were $2,180,956.29. So the revenue exceeded the expenses. And the overall year-to-date revenue was $5,856,713.15, and expenses were $4,618,448.09. So revenue again exceeded expenses for the year-to-date. We also talked about various legislation that's going to come forth tonight. We talked about the fire levy and not passing, and the possible options as far as bringing in further revenue. We also talked about 142, a portion of that ODOT repaired, which is a cost to the city. Next finance meeting is May 6th at 5:30 in the conference room next door. That's it.
Thanks, sir. Councilmember Trainer?
Yes, I also attended Finance Committee meeting on April 15, just reviewing my notes, and I think the majority of things that we discussed are actually coming up for further discussion in this session as either ordinance or resolution, so I'll defer until those matters come up.
Thank you. Councilman Stahl?
I attended the Finance, Public Service, Public Safety Committees, and most of that's been discussed, so I won't go into any more.
Okay. Councilman Norman?
I attended all the committee meetings, but the one I'm reporting on is public service, the street department report. Our street department, as usual, has been very busy. Some of the just highlights, it's 3 pages long, so we're just going to hit some highlights. We checked the tornado sirens, which is good because we're seeming to be in tornado sirens season. If you've been out and about on these sunny days that we've had, you'll see that they've been out patching potholes all around the city. We did have an ODOT meeting about the state route changing. The company to grade the roads so that we can have them fixed and repaired has been hired. They did a lot of checkups on the complaints out there on the potholes. There was a sinkhole on Center Street that they had to take a look at, and another one on Shady that they had to take a look at. They talked to the engineers about the Dollar General storm sewer area. There was some pricing for the roof over at the London Fire Department, the front half of the building. We also lost a 17-year employee. Their last day was April 5th. So we do have some openings in our street department. The other big thing was the Columbia Gas work that's going on, and I think the city's done a really good job of putting posts up about the road closures on Union and High Street to First Street, and I think we did a really good job of making that known to everybody. Public service meeting, May 14th, 5 p.m., right next door.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. I also attended the Finance Committee meeting. We're going to have discussions on just about everything that happened that night. Just looking at my notes to see if there was anything else that came up. Councilman Hitt mentioned ODOT. Were we supposed to see legislation on that yet, or I can't remember? We were. So there was
There was some question about whether they really did come into the city. Bill and I both swore that they didn't, but Mr. Hitt went out and he said he can see some different coloration in the pavement. And we were also waiting on the breakdown of what we were paying for. The auditor's department just wasn't going to pay.
Remember how much that was?
It's like 15, almost 16,000 extra dollars. We don't have that in the fund, so we're going to have bring it to council and get it appropriated.
So this was work that was supposedly done in 22, 21?
The project actually is done, I guess, in 22.
Yeah, 2022, and we're just now getting a bill from ODOT
Yeah.
for that work that
We
was
paid
done
them,
then.
we paid them our share of what we thought we were going to have to pay in 2019.
Right.
So-
It's been quite a while. We don't have any
Yeah.
legislation tonight, but that was brought up at the Finance Committee also.
I think they can wait a few months if it took them this many years to get it to us.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Moving on to the city officials report. Mr. Castle, you have that microphone in front of you.
Okay, just a little information that we have uncovered. The question was asked about the ward changes, whether it would affect our LMI for grants, and the grant writer said it doesn't. It goes by street boundaries, not ward boundaries. It just so happened that the ward boundaries aligned with the last one. So we're okay to make the ward changes if you want to keep working on that project. Already talked about ODOT. The Main Street markings, we've been working with Bill on that, and he feels that we need to get the reflective paint, which they can't do. So he's looking at getting quotes on as to what it would cost to get that done, to do the markings down on Main Street. He also said that he's noticed that the road grading company is in town, actually going down, up and down the streets, so they're working on the project as we speak. Also, I know there's been some questions on Facebook as to, why didn't my trash get picked up today? Monday, we had 3 truck failures. So Monday is our busiest day, and then you combine that with 3 truck failures, you're quickly behind the 8 ball. They've worked really hard in getting the trucks fixed and back on the road and working, and I received a text today from Les, and he said that they're completely caught up. So everybody's trash and recyclables are up to snuff as of today. That's all I got.
Okay, couple quick comments there. It was brought up earlier, I just want to bring it up now, the job openings. So just so people know, if you go to the londonohio.gov page, you need to look in the little drop down that says more. It says job opportunities. And we do have listed right now the City of London Sanitation Department, the Parks and Rec Department, which we discussed earlier, still needing lifeguards, concessions, and front desk, and the Police Department. Looks like they're taking new applicants and also may consider lateral transfers. So wanted to mention that before I forgot about that. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can we have Mr. Stahl give the police report?
Mr. Stahl,
He thought he was going to get
the
another.
police report. Are you prepared to give the police report?
No, I'm
tonight?
not.
Oh, okay.
You don't have it in front of you?
I cleaned out my thing. I was carrying too many papers around. That's one of them I set to the side.
I just dropped it off to you down there right before the meeting started.
Right here. Okay.
Right there. Back up to the committee reports.
That was the whole committee report.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
You have a hard copy of the police report?
No,
You don't?
no.
Okay. We can go ahead and disperse with that. I apologize.
Was there anything big and new that we need to know?
Not really. The
Any
new
word
dog
on the
is,
grant?
the new dog is about 10 weeks away. New dog, okay, but it's like sometime before he'll be ready to roll. And then there is some talk of moving the dispatching to the county. It's just in the talking stage right now. Off the top of my head, that's $2 two biggest things I can remember.
Well, we'll expect another report.
Put another drug dealer behind
They-
bars.
Well, don't forget we did talk about speed enforcement. They are going to start, and in fact, they made a post on their page. They are going to start focusing on speed, especially around the park area. And that's something that I think everybody wants to hear, especially Mr. Morse out there. Sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to bring up something else about safety. We did talk about, I know it came up in council the last meeting about the handicap signs and whether they're enforceable or not. And the chief did say that all the signs are enforceable, whether they have a fine amount on them or not, all the handicap signs are enforceable. That was something we also discussed.
Right. Okay. Any other additions to this that we may have missed earlier? Okay. Moving on, we're going to move on to old business. We have 4 items for our third reading. First item is Resolution 118.24. I'll accept a motion to read by title and number.
So moved.
Second.
There we go.
Resolution 118-24, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Well, I should probably be prepared for this when it comes up with my name on it. These were donations that we've received for the police department, amount of $10,074. This will be used at the police chief's discretion. I've not had anyone approach me, or I'm not aware of anyone else that's had any complaints about this. This is the third reading. Are there any comments on this? Hearing none, what are our wishes?
I make a motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Norman and a second by Mr. Hayes to adopt this. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilman Norman,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hitt,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilman Eads.
Yes. 11824 has been adopted. Moving on. 12024, resolution by Michael Norman. Accept the motion to read by title and number.
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 120-24, sponsored by Michael Norman, a resolution increasing appropriations.
So this is the resolution to put in the pickleball courts to a location that's yet to be determined. There's been a lot of discussion in both finance and public service. I don't think we've reached any sort of concrete plans. So I'd like to move that we postpone any action on Resolution 12024 until June 6th of 2024. This will give our Parks and Recreation time to get proposals for all the different locations that were being considered, so that we can have a apples to apples sort of comparison when we do decide what location we want to put it in. The reason I propose this in this manner is because this is the third reading. If we vote on it tonight and it does get voted down, the process starts over. If we do it this way and we postpone it, give them the time that they need, when they get that and it comes through the committees and it comes back, we are still at the same reading. Well, actually, we'll be at the fourth reading. It keeps the reading status, and we can actually read, amend, and adopt all in the same night to have it passed instead of having another set of 3 readings.
Mr. Norman, I'm going to come back to you for the motion that you're trying to put forth at this point. We do have our rec director, Landon McKenzie, and our safety service director both raised their hand and would like to comment before we take a motion.
For the appropriations that are on there now, we ask that they do not get postponed any further. I mean, it's been through 3 public service meetings, been through 2 finance meetings. All conversations dictate currently that Cowling Park is the best location. So we would like to just move forward with the vote today to appropriate the money to have pickleball courts installed up at Cowling Park. So, I mean, any future talk of expansion or any other locations can come down the line.
Was there a secondary location at Cowling Park I've heard that may have been discussed?
Northern part of the property, complete green space right now. So not down in the floodplain or nothing like that, but that little middle section, I guess, out past the fitness or warrior track or whatever you want to call that fitness course. So kind of up in there.
So closer to Park Avenue?
Yes.
That'd be the northern part of that?
Yeah.
And if we look from east to west, from let's say, Main Street down to Walnut, it's still up in the upper part of the park?
Correct.
Okay.
So
That's just behind the playground equipment, right? That open area? Or down further towards the creek?
it's past all that. So it's even past all the parking on Park Ave. So there's just green space. Two years ago, we held our fall volleyball in there. There is the walking track that does kind of encompass one side of it. And then you come up to the sidewalk there on Park Ave. I mean, it's a wide open space.
So what I'm hearing you say is if we vote and we pass this, you just stated that the best location is Cowling Park. Is that where you plan to put it if it's passed this evening?
Correct, in Cowling Park, yes.
So basically, we're not creating a location yet to be determined. We are saying we're going to put it in Cowling Park. Yes?
Councilman Norman, the reason behind that is none of the other locations has the infrastructure that we think is necessary. So there would have to be more money appropriated to put in electricity. I'm just talking security part.
Right.
We can always put up porta johns. We'd have to get money to put in electricity and a complete camera system. I'm guessing, well, camera system to cover new areas would be about probably $15,000 to $20,000 based on what we put in before. And then I don't know what the electric cost. We'd have to get an electrician in, which means it's going to have to come to council because we don't have that kind of funds to do that. Another 3 months. Now we're almost done with summer. So our feeling is, this is the best place, most viable place to put it. If council's wishes isn't to put it there, then just vote it down and we'll go back to the drawing board next year.
I just wanted to clarify that is where it's going to go if we vote yes.
Have we considered, or do we have any update on additional cost if it's moved in this secondary location at Cowling?
The cameras themselves, and then we'd have to, are those wireless in the park? They're wired, aren't they?
Yeah, not they're connected to the internet through Wi-Fi, but as far as
Microphone.
electric being ran to them and stuff like that.
Yeah, we would have the same type of issues. We'd have to get electrician to get electricity. May even possibly have to have poles installed to put the cameras on. And then the cameras themselves, I think our server could probably handle the additional cameras, but the licensing and everything, it's about, I don't know, $3,000 to $5,000, or $2,000 to $3,000 for an additional camera and licensing. So it's, again, not without cost.
So are the amounts on the legislation, is that enough to cover either of those locations in Cowling Park?
For what's on the legislation would cover the proposed original location of the existing old basketball court that's there. As far as what would possibly go in the northern part of there would require additional money. But at this time, like I said, the total amount that would be needed is unknown.
Are there any expectations that we're going to have further research to know what those prices are going to be anytime soon? Or do you prefer just to take action tonight?
prefer to take action tonight. I mean, it's getting into this, like I said, this started last August, you know, getting these bids and estimates turned in, so, you know, that, you're looking into 3-4 different companies by the time you're trying to get an estimate from them, to get turned around, to get something back to you guys, so.
Am I hearing then you'd rather take a vote on the resolution as proposed as opposed to suspending further discussion until our June sessions?
Correct. I'd like a vote to happen tonight. And then that way, like I said, we can move forward in the future. If this does get turned down tonight, then we'll just look at, other plans that, will come with the whole package, amenities and all for another location.
Can I ask why you don't have any interest in researching that additional amenities or locations at this time?
It's not that we don't have any interest in it, it's the cost factor of what it's going to cost additionally to put this in another location. I try not to spend money needlessly if we don't have to. When you've got a spot that's got everything you need except the money appropriated to build it, and you want to put it somewhere else, and then you want to tack on 20, 30, 40, 120 if you put in a restroom to 220, it's just an awful lot of money. I think that's the reason that we're apprehensive about it. That plus it's going to have to come back to council. It's got to go 3 readings. Now we're at the end of summer and we've wasted another year. I can almost get a road built quicker than we can the pickleball court, seems like.
Any further questions or comments?
I have concerns that, we've heard that there is a need for pickleball courts. And I don't mean this, I guess I just want to say it. It just seems like we're being given the all or nothing. We want it this way or we're going to do nothing. And I don't feel that's the right attitude to have on this. You're saying, if we vote this down tonight, you're going to start from the beginning.
We'll have to, because.
Exactly.
Because you don't want it where we've already done our study, where we've got everything we need to handle. Is that on? Yeah, sorry.
I hear you.
Everything that we need.
Listen, I don't care where the pickleball courts really go personally, but my concern is this. If you're giving us an all or nothing, and I think.
No, it's not an all or nothing. It's in a time frame to get it done, we need to move. You can't keep postponing. I'm sorry. We've promised people that we were going to do a pickleball court. We've had people excited about we were going to do a pickleball court, but we're not doing anything. And to wait until you get to the middle of summer and get it in and it's winter and you can't even use it, I would like to get something going to give to the people that's been wanting this, has been looking forward to it. We have money in our Parks and Playground Fund that we can do things in parks. Some of the other locations we looked at aren't parks, so now we can't use that money. So we've looked at, to be honest with you, we've looked at every angle that we can possibly look at, I feel like, to put it in a city park. You've got a park that has deteriorating asphalt in it. What better way of reconditioning that asphalt than tear it out, put a pickleball court on it, than to go into green space and dig up and take away green space out of our park, or put it somewhere where we don't have security cameras. It's my understanding the high school tennis courts nets got vandalized and broken this past week. Is that right? So unfortunately, we have to be able to monitor and protect our equipment where we put it. And I feel like we've done our due diligence. I take it that that's our job to do the due diligence and report it to council, Michael. I feel 100% like we've done our due diligence in working on this. So, and that's why I say, rather than just keep waiting and waiting and waiting, having all this, either vote it up or vote it down. It's up to council.
All right, so,
Mr. Norman, we'll come back to you. You started to make a motion earlier. If you would like to continue, I'd like you to restate your motion, and if not, we'll move on to the vote.
well, I would still like to make the motion, because if it fails, you're going to go back to the drawing board. If it passes, then obviously you won't. But the motion I have is to move to postpone it until June 6th to 24th, because the way it works out, you won't really be starting from scratch again. You won't have to present it 3 times, because it's already been presented 3 times. When you bring it back, it'll be the 4th time.
Let me tell you something. If we move it to somewhere else where we have put in cameras, we're going to need additional funds.
You're going to have to
So
amend
you're
it.
going to have to adjust your legislation.
I understand
to
that.
cover all the money that we're trying to put in there.
I understand that. But
So-
but if it fails tonight, you're going to have to do that anyways, correct?
To put it somewhere else, yes.
Or are you just going to come back 6 months from now and go, we want to put it in Cowling Park again? And you're going to have the same members here that are probably going to vote the exact same way.
No, so the plan is, if it fails tonight, is then in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 public service meetings from here until it gets decided, a location. And then once there's a location that's determined, then it's easier to get bids. Getting bids to put restrooms at 3 or 4 other different sites, or having, cameras, or is there Wi-Fi there? Is there not? All right, what kind of Wi-Fi is going to work there? So once the location's determined, if this gets voted down tonight, then we can look into exactly what it would cost to get it, pickleball courts there.
And then it starts over with reading number 1, then 2, then 3.
But
So
we've
then
been
you are
through
at the end
3
of,
public service meetings, and we came back from the first one, and Cowling Park was chosen, right?
Mm-hmm.
After the first one. Okay, but then that got kicked back to public service again to talk about location, which we did, and it still stayed there as the primary best suitable location. And then this past public service, we're in the middle of a good conversation, and we just jumped to the next item on the agenda because we were running out of time. So,
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Norman, if you're going to make a motion, please state your motion so that we can decide upon your motion.
okay, my motion is to move to postpone any action on this resolution until June 6th of 2024. This will give the Park and Recreations time to figure out other locations and prices and such. Postponing instead of voting it down, as I said, it'll bring it back for a 4th reading where amendments can be made for the price, location, it can be adopted, and it can be put into effect.
We have a point of order here. Mr. Castle says this is not a proper motion. If you're going to make a motion, this is my personal opinion, state what the motion is at one sentence without the extra.
Okay,
And
well
then-
then,
and
my
then
motion
continue.
is to move that we postpone any action on Resolution 120-24 until June 6th, 24th.
Second.
Call to order still. You either make no motion to vote on it at all, therefore it stays on till the next council meeting, or you table it. Those.
No, we can
you only
postpone it.
ta- Huh?
We can postpone it.
You cannot make a motion to postpone a vote.
You can, because I looked into it.
All you do is not vote, not have a motion to bring it up. You don't have to do it.
Well, it's on third reading.
Yeah, it's on third reading. If you don't make a motion to act on it, it stays on. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to make the motion.
But if we put a date to it, then it brings it back on that agenda for June 6th, for sure, to be discussed.
Well, if you don't act on it, it'll be on the agenda for the 4th reading for sure. That's how it works. If you don't vote on it, it stays on.
Okay, well, I made the motion, so we can vote on it. You
Hold
can
on.
vote it up, you can vote it
Yeah,
down.
we have a motion, we have a second. This will be from the Roberts Rules of Orders cheat sheet, postpone consideration of something. The motions must start with, I move we post this matter until a certain date. You cannot interrupt the speaker. A second is needed. It is debatable, it is amendable, and it's a majority vote. As far as I can tell, this is a proper motion. So we have a motion on the floor to postpone this until the June 6th meeting. Is that correct, Mr.
Yes.
Norman?
Yes.
We have a second, Councilman Trainer.
Correct.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, let's have a roll call vote on the motion to postpone this until June 6th. Roll call, please.
Councilman Hitt,
No.
Councilman McDaniel,
No.
Councilman Stahl,
No.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
No.
Councilman Norman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer.
Yes.
So by a 4-3 vote, the motion to postpone fails.
Okay.
Okay. Now, we are on our third reading. There was a lot of discussion about that. Is there any further discussion about 12024 before we take further action? Okay, this is the third reading. What are our wishes?
I make a motion, we adopt.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
No.
Councilman Eads,
No.
Councilman Hitt,
Yes.
Councilman Norman,
No.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniel.
No.
So by my count, by a 4-3 vote, this motion goes down. It's defeated tonight. Is that correct, clerk? Is that a 4-3 vote against? Okay. Thank you very much. Moving on, Resolution 12124, sponsored by Shannon Trainer. I'll accept a motion to read by title and number.
So moved.
Second.
Motion.
Resolution 121-24, sponsored by Shannon Trainer, a resolution increasing appropriations.
This is a third reading on this motion. This is on this resolution. The many faceted stages that have to go through in order to complete the transfer of the public utilities to Mid-Ohio requires that we transfer remaining funding from our accounts to theirs. This is contractually obligated. This resolution is simply adhering to those obligations.
Do we have any further, is there any discussion about 12124? Hearing none, this is our third reading of this. What are our wishes?
Make a motion to adopt.
A second.
Is that Rick?
We have motion and a second with Rich.
Councilman McDaniel,
No.
Councilman Norman,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilman Hitt,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
12124 passes by 6-1 vote. Has been adopted. Moving on, 123-24, sponsored by Michael Norman. I'll accept a motion to read by title and number.
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 123-24, sponsored by Michael Norman, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Yes, this is a resolution to increase appropriations for the shortfall that we felt we would have with the Fire EMS division for $600,000 for the budget year ending 2024.
Okay. Do you have any further comments for that? You did the other night, so
I
I'm
do,
asking if-
I do,
if
but
you
I
heard.
just want to make sure I don't do it out of order. So I wanted to make sure I read it first. So at the recent finance meeting, our Safety Service Director, Auditor, Fire Chief, and the Finance Committee worked out a plan that basically this resolution is not needed at this time. Worked out a plan that says that the Fire Chief did agree that this plan will take him through operationally through the rest of the year. Now, couple things I think we need to know about this plan is it is for the operations. It's not for any extra equipment that could or may need bought, unless it's within his already budgeted budget. This plan also doesn't make the fire and EMS whole. It's based on the one less person, one per shift per day, the 9 instead of the 10. We used to have 10, now we have 9. So it doesn't make it whole, but it does make it feasible and acceptable from our fire chief to move forward with. So, and he gave us insurance that the projections that were given to him would allow him to make it through the rest of the year.
So the comment that was made the other night that I thought you were going to make now is that the reason why we can do what we're about to do is that by the cost-saving measures by the police chief or by the fire chief to eliminate that position and careful management of money.
Right. I mean, our fire, during the meeting, the guiding force was our fire chief, because I've been an advocate of our fire department and our fire chief since day one. I've looked at this budgets across central Ohio and further on cities our size, and he's at the very low end of those budgets. There's budgets out there that are $5, $6, $7, $8 million. Our guy's doing it at he's creeping up on 4, but if he's creeping up on 4, I bet if I redid everybody else's, they're probably creeping up on 8 or 9. So I take what our chief says a little bit higher than anybody else, because it is his department. He knows what's going on, and I asked him straight out. I said, "Is this going to work for you?" And he said, "Yes." There is a little bit of a issue of maybe later on during the year, he's a little bit he wants a little bit of wiggle room, so if he has to come back to us. Because this is based on projections right now, the way the flows are going, and
So I'd like to ask Mr. Castle, the Safety Service Director, who's the direct supervisor over Chief Eads. He was an integral part of looking at this budget and seeing how we can move forward. I'd like his comments now.
Councilman Norman is correct that Chief Eads has gone into a conservative mode, not having his full staffing levels in order to conserve money, to stretch his funds as long as he possibly can. I compliment him in what he's been able to do. We stay in fairly constant contact on reviewing things. We review his revenues and his expenses, and his department's holding his own. So, again, doing so is keeping it at a staffing level of 1 less than what he's supposed to have, and it's doable. It's not fun and it's not easy, but it's doable.
Ms. Traynor, do you have any comments or questions? Since you're part of the finance meeting when this came up the other night.
No, my only comment is I really, truly appreciate all the efforts that the fire department has gone through in order to trim their budgets, to trim their staff. They've gone into conservative mode. They've also explored other cost-saving measures, including changing, I believe, the vendor, the company that they're currently utilizing to do their EMS billing by cutting rates with them by I believe it was over 4%. They were also exploring the possibility of initiating a billing plan for services that are currently left unbilled as additional sources of revenue. And all of those things combined looks like in its current state through the end of fiscal year 2024, the fire department is in They're in a working capital mode. Again, with a reservation that any, truly unforeseen financial disasters might require some council action down the road. But at this point in time, the proposal was that this resolution, while appreciated, is not necessary and can be voted down.
Councilman Hitt, you were also part of that meeting. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, kind of basically what Shannon was saying also. We talked about options as far as bringing in additional revenue to remain solvent, and that would be determined on how the year goes as far as bringing in revenue. And those would include hard billing, which is billing customers in addition to whatever their insurance might provide. And then the other option was to bill for non-transport types of services, which currently they're not getting revenue for.
True. Mr. Castle, one further question for you. I don't remember what the numbers were off the top of my head, but if we looked at the starting budget at the end of '23, the starting budget for '24, and what's going to be left projected right now at the end of '24 for a starting budget in '25, there was a slight difference. It went down a little bit. Do you remember how much that was?
I'm thinking it was around 800,000, Mark, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that's not what it went down. It was around
Oh.
800,000 as the carrier. I'm saying the
Oh.
difference from what we expected to see from
Yeah.
one year to the next was actually closer to 100,000.
Yeah, that's about right.
So if at this point, if we have to come up with money, 600,000 is probably going to be too much. If we have to come up with money to keep the fire department afloat towards the end of the year, it's going to be a lot closer to the lower number.
Yeah.
So, is there any further comments or questions?
I have a question, comment, I'm not sure. So my question is, again, if there is a need, say September, that funds are needed, would it behoove us to keep this on, and then, so that we can just amend it, and it's it'd be the same process of, because if he comes in if it's September, he comes and says, hey, I need money, then again, we're in that situation where we're starting first reading, second reading, third reading, effective date, and then, we're into November, October, or November, December before he gets his money. If we were to keep this on or tabled, or however you want to word it, it's in the third reading. And we've done it on other projects, like what comes to mind to me is the Pulte product, or that we
That
left
was
on
on
for
for
almost
well
a
over a
year.
year
So,
as a tabled item.
That's good, that's a good notion. I would probably table it.
and then it's already got an emergency clause, so if he did come back in September and said, hey, I'm going to be 2,000 or 200,000 short, we can act on it that night, and it goes effect the next day, because it has an emergency clause on it. I just want to make
That's
sure
the
that,
discussion, or are you going to put that in form of a motion?
well, I'm not sure how we're going to make that a motion, other than,
Just move the table.
according to our safety service director, we can just table it. I think we have to postpone it and put a certain date on it, which would be the last
We can,
meeting in
you can make a motion
September.
to table.
Well, tabling it, Michael, tabling it, you could bring it back at any time. So say it's earlier in September.
Then we can
Whereas
bring it
if you postpone it till September, then you've got it sitting there and it can't, I don't know how
You
do
can
You can
open that back up and do that again later, I think, but I understand your reasoning.
The reason I put the date is because I'd like to see that there is an intention to review his finances and at the end of September to make sure he is okay.
So if we table it, we can bring it back.
You table
Whenever
it,
we
you can
want to.
bring it back anytime.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, you can untable it, I should say.
Yeah.
Okay, well, however you want to do it, let's do it.
Well, are you making a motion? to
I'm making a
table?
motion, we table it.
We have a motion on
I
the
move.
table to table this until further notice.
There we go.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the table. Is there any further discussion to table this until a later date? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote, please.
Councilman Eads?
Yes.
Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Councilman Hitt?
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels?
No.
Councilman Norman?
Yes.
Councilman Stahl?
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer?
Yes.
By my count, that's a 5-1 vote, not 6-1, as I said earlier. By a 5-1 vote, we will table this until we decide to bring it off the table.
It's 6
Excuse
to
me,
1.
it's 6?
It's 6 to 1.
Six
Oh,
to
that's
one.
right, I'm thinking Josh doesn't vote. Yeah. I'm sitting here for Josh, and I'm voting. I apologize.
Gotta get-
You know, we're really not doing bad if I get these little things right, I think. What do you think?
You're doing okay.
Doing a good job.
Okay, thanks, I appreciate that. That is the end of our old business, we're going to move on to new business. 124-24, motion, let's accept the motion to read by title and number.
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance 124-24, sponsored by Shannon Trainer, an ordinance dissolving the Board of Public Utilities.
Thank you. This goes right along with the previous resolution appropriating funds. This is a necessary step to complete the transfer to the Mid-Ohio Water and Sewer District.
Any further, you were at the meeting, Mr. Hitt? Do you have any further comments on this?
Well, my concerns are that the further this goes out, the more pay that goes out for the BPU, which is essentially not performing any duties right now. Is that right?
They would still manage the sanitation department. Is
They
all.
still got-
Until such time that they are disbanded.
Correct.
Or dissolved, if we use this phrase. Well, the BPU is paid the same as city council. If you don't know what that is, that's $6,600 a year. I don't know, personally, I don't know that leaving this on for another reading is going to change that very, very much. That's just my opinion, to leave this on. Anyone else have comments, questions, or concerns about this? What are our wishes? It is the first reading.
Leave it on.
Leave it on? Okay. We'll leave that on for the next reading. 125-24, accept a motion to read by title and number.
So moved.
Second.
Ordinance 125-24, sponsored by Shannon Trainer, an ordinance approving and authorizing the execution and delivery of a community reinvestment area agreement.
This is regarding the Messenger Building recently purchased by Westwood Development Company. They are seeking to freeze the property taxes at their current rate while they make improvements to that building and seek new, I believe, commercial renters. This is very much in lockstep with the other community reinvestment agreements that they have with the other buildings that they have purchased in the downtown area. And I strongly, I'm very just thrilled that they're coming in, and believe that we should be doing what we can in order to help them out with what tools we have in our toolbox.
So there is not an emergency clause on this. I did ask the representative that was at our meeting on Monday night if he was going to attend. He said he would be here. We don't see him tonight. I would like to leave it on maybe so he can come and tell us some things. It was very interesting. I don't remember, I didn't write this down. He gave us kind of a running total of the businesses that they have brought to London and what's still coming that they know of. It was very interesting to hear, and I wish I would have written all that down, but I did not.
Also, there's really no need for any kind of emergency or similar clause on this one, as this would be a tax reinvestment, and the property taxes are billed a year in arrears, so there's no hurry.
Okay? Without a motion, we'll leave that on. 126-24.
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 126-24, sponsored by Andrew Hitt, a resolution adopting the recommendations of the Planning Commission No.
This involves the London Landing Phase 2 project that we discussed a few council meetings back, and it involves the addition of 6 additional lots for that Phase 2. There were certain stipulations that were to be followed.
That was incorrect.
Oh, okay.
The stipulations, well, you finished.
No, go ahead, yeah.
Microphone.
What, huh? It's right there. It was, that was initially
you were saying Michael.
brought to planning. There was a mix-up in his, either clerical or whatever. His lots that he had plotted were plotted at 72, but his application stated 66. So planning adhered to his application and only approved 66 of the 72. The stipulation was, before he can go out to the other phases, those are when the stipulations come into place. And there still will be in effect. We're just going ahead and, planning went ahead and approved those additional 6 that,
So it's
if his application had been correct, it would have been done a long time ago.
basically just adding 6 additional lots to the 66.
Yes.
However, you know how we missed this the other night? The planning commission recommendation specifically says project/development London Landing Phase 2. But the map says Phase 3, 6 lots. Is that also clerical error? Was that supposed to be part of Phase 2? When we asked this the other night, so if you guys can see it on your computers, I don't think we have it up.
Well, is it?
But on the very top of the page, it says Phase 3, 6 lots, right? But this is a Phase 2 Planning Commission application. But and I don't know that you guys can see it, but part of that was already built, we're going to say is at this level, and there was, from everybody else that's looking at me, this part of this corner up here was missed, but it's within the same level, within that same area, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify that even though this document says Phase 3, 6 lot, and then it says Phase 4, 74 lots, we're not moving on to a new phase. This is Phase 2.
No, that was not supposed to, that was that 74 lots was withdrawn from that meeting because he didn't have everything in order for his traffic study to be viable and so everything to move on those other 74 lots. So he requested to not present that application at the meeting.
But you serve on the planning commission, so if you look at the document, you see where it says Phase 3, 6 lots. I'm just asking for your clarification
I would have
on that.
to, Greg, I'd have to have the papers in front of me to know exactly what was presented to us. You got it?
I've got it.
I didn't bring all that stuff with me, I'm sorry. Okay, London Landing. Okay, so it says in the yellowed area, it says Phase 3-A. Then right above that on the map, it says Phase 2-B. So I think the architect just having a rough time getting the right labeling on stuff, if you want to know my honest opinion.
Okay.
Okay? I agree, it does say Phase 3-A. Do you see what I'm talking about? Right above that, it says Phase 2-B.
I do. It just
Yeah,
says Phase
so-
3, 6 lots, and there's only 6 lots, and I didn't think we moved on to Phase 3. I just want clarification. There's not an emergency clause on this anyway. Maybe we have to somehow edit that and bring that back for the proper document later. I don't know how we do that, if we do at all.
Yeah, I'll reach out to the property owner and see if they can get everything corrected.
That's something else.
And look, they do a lot of different naming of things. This is London Landing 2. If you'll read down here, the 6 lots, it says London Landing 2, Section C. So now we got another variable
Right,
in there,
it's just
so
confusing.
it's very. Yeah, I'll find out.
That's something else also. This requires a public hearing
That's true.
in 30 days, but our council meeting on May 16th would only be 28 days, so it'd have to go to June 6th council meeting for the public hearing.
Yeah.
And that has to be published in the paper.
All the things that you have to do for public hearing, you have to send out notices to the public or the people who live within 200-mile radius.
So assuming it goes out soon, it would come
Yeah.
on the June 6th.
Has that been given to you, Madam
Yeah.
Clerk, yet?
No, no one did anything, but if we're going to do June 6th, then I can notify the paper and get the mail out, the letters out.
Okay.
Blah.
So this will be set for a public hearing on June 6th, is that correct?
Yeah, that should be out far enough,
Okay,
hopefully.
okay. So we'll leave this on and we'll move on tonight. Next, I believe we have 127-24. I'll accept a motion.
Motion to,
Tell me. A motion to what?
motion to read by title and number.
There you go, there you go. I was going to have you do the whole thing.
Getting late.
127-24, thank you, go ahead.
Resolution 127-24.
Oh, we don't
sponsored-
have, we didn't have a second. Did we-
Second.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, just want to make sure,
Right
okay. I apologize.
All right. Resolution 127-24, sponsored by Andrew Hitt, a resolution increasing appropriation.
If you put it down there,
So this is money to be appropriated or possibly be appropriated for fire hoses.
I don't know.
And this is declared an emergency. The fire chief wanted to be able to access that money to start purchasing hoses for the fire
She didn't
department.
really tell you the street.
And it's in the amount of $5,000.
Said before lots in there.
Councilman Stahl, we can,
That was taken that.
This is a donation, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion to bypass the three reading rule on this.
I'll second.
I'm sorry.
Rich
we
first,
have
or
a
made a
motion to
motion.
suspend the rules on this.
Okay.
Rich was the first, Andy Hitt was the second.
All righty. Councilman Hitt,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilman Norman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer.
Yes.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay.
We haven't done that for
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilman Norman,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniels,
Yes.
Councilman Hitt,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilman Eads.
Yes. 127-24 has been adopted. Moving on to 128-24, accept a motion to read by title and number.
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 128-24, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution increasing appropriations.
So the fire department's already put in the exhaust system, I do believe, and paid for that. We were waiting for this money. This is just, we've gotten the grant money now. They've received the grant reimbursement. This will just put the money back into their fire complex building maintenance fund, which is to do work on the building. There is not an emergency clause on this. However,
I think they need the money, so I'll make a motion to suspend the three reading rule.
Second.
Who was the second?
John had the second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to suspend the three reading rules. Is there any discussion about this?
I can just say that Chief Eads was at our finance committee, and he doesn't believe that emergency clause is necessary.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? We'll take a roll call vote, please, for the motion to suspend.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
No?
Councilman Eads,
No.
Councilman Hitt,
Yes.
Councilman Norman,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilman McDaniel.
No.
The yeas have it.
The yeas passed by a 4-3 vote. Okay. I don't know that we cannot do that. It needs a 5-2 vote or greater. So this motion will stay on. Moving on to 12924, I'll take a motion to accept the motion to read by title and number.
Motion to read by title and number.
Second.
Resolution 129-24, sponsored by Michael Norman, a resolution increasing appropriations.
Mr. Norman, you're the sponsor of this. Would you like to discuss
Oh,
it?
sorry, I zoned out there for a second, sorry. Yes, this is for, Ooh, okay. So this is for the purchase of a digital sign. The proposed location at this time is right in front of, well, it's not in front of, I guess it's going to be on High Street facing the fire department. Because when I think of the front of City Hall, I think Walnut, but, so it's going to be located there. It's a two-sided digital sign, much like other communities all around us have, to be used to, communication's one of the things that I've always kind of advocated. This is another step that helps us to communicate with our community on anything, community events, Amber Alerts, tornado, whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's a sign that, could be used for various things. And so I don't really think there's anything else much more to say about it. It's a sign, and it's pretty, and that's about it.
So it's a pretty big sign. What, do you remember the size?
Yeah, it's going to be 9.5 feet high, 8 feet wide. It is, I keep forgetting, sorry, that people out there haven't seen this proposal. It's also vandal resistant, which if you look around at some of the signs in the communities around us, that's one thing that is lacking, the vandalism part of it. If a rock were to hit the sign, there's a shield on it, or if somebody decides to vandalize it with paint, there's a shield on it that can be replaced at minimal cost. It is cellular. The cellular is included in the price, lifetime cellular. It's remote. You can assign different people, so we could have the police department could have a log on, and they could, put their alerts out if they have one. Our administrative assistant could put the current events going on. Fire department, basically, whoever the city decides they want to allow to put messages out there. Very low maintenance. It can withstand 128 mile-an-hour winds. What else you want to know? It's got several different fonts. It's got several different images, like 2,000 different images, 2,000 different videos that can be used on it. All that's included in the price. Anything else?
Is it a pretty sign?
Is it pretty? It's very pretty. It's very pretty because it says London, City of London, and then whatever we want to say in the sign. So we can make it as pretty as we want.
So other communities have these signs too that I know that you've looked at. Did you, because if we're going to hold other people to their feet to the fire, I'm going to ask you the same. Did you get any competitive bids?
I did.
Research this?
I reached out to.
Not bids, that's the wrong term because we're not bidding this out, but in your research.
In my research, I did talk to 2 other companies. One never got back to me, so that says a lot. And the second one was a company out of Youngstown. And when I originally proposed this, it was going to be a one-sided sign, and it was going to be at Triangle Park. And so the original amount was around $21,000 from the sign company that we're going with. The other company from Youngstown, when I brought them out, same location, same size sign, one-sided. They said ballpark figured off the top of their head, it was going to be between $30,000 and $40,000. So when we moved it down here, got a hold of the original sign company, found out we can get a two-sided sign for the same price as the Youngstown said we would charge for one-sided. So, and it's, you know, so yes, I didn't just go with one. I checked the prices out there, and
Thank you for your due diligence on that. There is no emergency clause on this either.
Leave it on.
Wishes to leave it on?
Leave it
Okay.
on.
We'll leave that on to our next meeting. I don't think there's any further new business that I'm not aware of any. Is there any further new business? Ms. Clerk? Madam Clerk? Clerk of Council, whatever I'm supposed to call you. Moving on to round table. We'll start with Ms. Trainer tonight.
You know what? I've had a really long week. I've been doing taxes quarter end, so I really don't have anything to add. So
Okay,
keep it short.
that's fine. Moving on, Mr. Stahl. Anything from round table tonight?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. We've had a lot of interesting things. I've never seen anything in all my years as much as pickleball's talked about. Everybody seems to like it. I didn't know much about it either. Maybe that'll finally happen. And as much as we're growing, things are changing. I hate to see Intelligrated leave town. By October, I guess 98 jobs will be gone.
90. Did you say Honeywell?
Intelligrated,
I'm sorry, how many jobs did you say?
92 or 98, I forget which it was.
Oh, okay. Is that all for you, sir?
That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. Norman?
First of all, thanks to those who came out. I appreciate that you stayed this long. You know, we're working to get things done. What we can say right now is we've got our fire and EMS funded. And that's been a that's been a long, hard road for us for several years. You know, we're not quite at 100% when it comes to staffing, but we're continuing to build and we're moving forward, and that's what matters. We don't have a levy coming up, so we don't have to worry about that. That's a nice thing to have. We're also starting the process of a comprehensive study to address the needs and wants of our city. I attended a meeting, and I was really, really happy to hear in the meeting the want to have public involvement. It was mentioned in the meeting by everybody in the meeting, and in the actual documents that we had, every single one of them had some sort of public meeting, some more than others, but you know, we want the public involved. We want to hear what you want. It's important to us, and it's great that we're reaching out like that. And then finally, I do have a community meeting coming up next Tuesday, April 23rd. It'll be at 7 p.m. in the room right there next to us, the conference room. Our guest speakers will be the London Police Department. They'll be coming out to share information about the programs and services they offer. So I hope you'll be able to come out to that. And other than that, have a great evening.
Thank you, Mr. McDaniels.
Well, I'd like to thank Mr. Long, because everything else he did on that list, he also found time to clean up the county-maintained ditches there on Lafayette, and thanks to the sanitation department and everybody else for coming out. Wake up, Rex. That's it.
Thanks, sir. Councilman Hayes?
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I'd like to thank all of our city employees for jobs well done, and I'm glad we're really moving on this Main Street, getting those lanes straightened out there. And I just thank my fellow council members up here. Good job tonight. We agree and we disagree, but that's what this is all about. I just want to thank the good Lord for watching over this city again. We were under tornado watch yesterday, and then the alarms come on, and all of a sudden, it moved away. So thank you, Lord. He takes care of us. And, whew, man, oh, man. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Hitt.
The next Finance Committee meeting is May 6th at 5:30 in the meeting room next door. And Public Services the next meeting is May 14th at 5 p.m. in the meeting room next door. And I'd like to congratulate Mr. Eads on running the meeting tonight. I thought it went very well.
Good job.
For filling in for the first time.
Hey, a few bobbles here and there. Thank you.
Oh, you did fine.
Just a couple items. Pickleball. From what I've been hearing at all the meetings we went to, the thing that I think the people here on the city council, at least the ones that have any opposition to this, it's not opposing pickleball itself, it's just knowing where it's going to go, what it's going to cost. It's a shame that it went down, but it sounded like, from my perspective, listening to our rec director and our safety service director, vote it down, we'll come back with a plan, but don't leave it on here. I'd still like to see it happen, and I'm hoping that all works out, because I still think it's going to be a benefit for the citizens. Secondly, I'm going to mimic Mr. Norman about the discussion that we had today. We were invited, along with Mr. Norman, myself, and our president, were invited to go to a discussion with our safety service director, Rex Council, about a comprehensive plan. He did put out a notice to get companies that were interested in giving us their qualifications. We received 3. We've not made a decision on how we're going to move forward. We have a few additional questions. It was interesting that 2 of the companies of the 3 had done work with Marysville. So I thought it was interesting that maybe if Mr. Council would like to reach out and just get the opinion of the 2, but the prices range by over $50,000 from the lowest to the highest. So there's a big stake going from $82,000 to $139,000. But no decisions were made on how we want to do that. I will say this much. It seems like everybody there really liked the proposal that was actually the least expensive, because it was pretty comprehensive, and that's what we were looking for. So no decisions have been made. We're going to meet again. We're going to have a meeting. It should go to the next finance meeting, and then we can bring it to council next month, possibly. I want to thank everybody for coming out, the people that came out to speak. I want to thank everyone for helping me out tonight, because, bobble here and there, but we got through it.
Good job.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Daniels, Mr. McDaniels, pardon me, I will accept a motion to adjourn from you.
I'll motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned at 8:09.
Very nice. You look like ought to go to a prom or something.
How'd you like that?
Down up, and that's such a pretty dress with jewelry and everything.
Nothing fancy.
How'd you like that chair tonight, Shannon?
Very nice.
How's your butt?
You guys gotta get in on this action over here. Tell you what, I could sit here for another 2 hours.
Don't say that.
Yeah, for real. Don't say that, we'll be here till 10 o'clock.
That could happen.
Nobody wants that.